Hello everyone, welcome to the second tutorial of session 4, and we're looking at an introduction to literature review. So far we looked at what is literature, what is a literature review, and how to start a literature review, and also what is the purpose of a literature review, and we introduced some basic steps on how to conduct a literature review. And we also gave 6 questions that you should keep in the back of your mind when you are searching for literature. And we looked at how to get the most out of your reading. So, in tutorial 2, let's further explore some critical analysis areas. Here are 5 questions you can always ask. Why am I reading this? Is it within my area or topic of interest? What are the authors trying to say or do in writing this literature or an article? What is relevant in this document or literature to my project? How do I want to connect it to the project that I'm doing? Are you convinced about what the author is saying? And finally, how do I use what is in this piece of literature or the article in my work? When you look at literature, you can consider all these topics. For example, I go back to agile methodology. What is the definition of agile methodology? Who has defined it, and what are the different authors saying about agile methodology? The second one, how did it evolve? What is the history behind it? Are there any key studies about agile methodology that are worth highlighting? What are the theories or frameworks? And what are the concepts in agile methodology that various authors have spoken about? Finally, what are the main issues and problems around agile methodology that creates a debate in the industry and in academic circles? So finally, what is the current situation about agile methodology? So this 7-step pie chart that you see is a very good way to think about how do you want to approach your areas in your research question and the topic. Okay, having looked at the basics of a literature review, let's look at a real literature review. How should a literature review be written? Here are 2 paragraphs taken from an article Singh has written in 2008. It talks about the UK supermarkets and how they plan to enter the gaming market and increase their market share. And also it talks about that there is recession in the UK market, and therefore supermarkets want to get into a new category to increase the footfall. Another reason is the gaming category has higher margins than other categories like food in the supermarket. But also, on the other hand, Singh is saying, although specialists who sell games will feel some amount of pain with the grocers and the supermarkets cutting down prices, the 16 to 30-year-old segment who are into games may not go to Tesco or Asda to buy games. So the conclusion here is, although supermarkets can offer cheap prices, they cannot give the experience that specialists offer in the gaming area. Take a moment to read this in your PDF slides and try to summarize this in your own words and see what Singh is trying to say here. Although there are two paragraphs here, it tries to build an argument about what supermarkets are doing, yet Singh is questioning how successful that strategy be in the light of the gaming consumer and the specialist stores. So, this is what we need to do in literature, not just read and rewrite it, but develop an argument and summarize what the author is trying to say. Now, let's look at how to write a literature review, another example. Again, if you take a moment to read this, we have highlighted some of the key areas in this paragraph. You will see that it integrates research from number of authors and different ideas have been addressed, and it also demonstrates there is wider reading around the topic and really critically analyzing the literature review. So, what we expect is to see this kind of paragraphs building in your literature review. On the other hand, how not to write a literature review. Look at this. It just says the articles were found either by searching Google or looking at something like Wikipedia, and the student has entirely cut and pasted the URL, which is not acceptable in academic literature. It's a very bad sign to start a paragraph or a sentence without any author's name. There is no logical structure. So, read this a little and find out what type of writing style you need to adopt in your literature review. And finally, referencing is very, very important. Always refer, refer, and refer. And this shows that you have done a wide range of research and you have read around the topic, and it will help you to reinforce and justify and augment your point of view. It's always possible to lose track of references. Therefore, keep a journal, keep a small booklet with you where you take down all the material that you refer so that you will not have to look at your references at the end, but you have a good track record. And finally, more on your literature review, try to develop a logical structure of your ideas. We will discuss about how to structure your literature review. Next thing is, don't just rewrite the literature but interpret what are the authors saying. Be critical and compare and look at the similarities and the differences among other authors. Most people just try to describe, but look at what are the strengths and weaknesses. What are the comparisons in the literature that you see? Always a very competent, well written literature review will confirm that you are an authority or that you are a specialist in your topic. Usually, the starting point of your literature review is your research question. You can always keep coming back to your research question. Use existing literature to develop your argument so you can test it in real life in your dissertation. Finally, let's look at the session summary. We discussed about the importance of critically evaluating literature, that helps you to develop a very deep and a thorough understanding about your topic. And also, it will give you a good understanding about your research questions and the research objectives. We also looked at what is the process of conducting a literature review and what is the purpose of a literature review. The best way to understand what is in the literature is to critically evaluate what the author is saying rather than repeating what authors have said. And also we discussed about how to write and how not to write a literature review with a couple of examples. Now I would urge you to go back to our supermarket example and take a moment to read the two paragraphs and summarize the argument in your own words. So good luck.